Welcome, dear students. This session would focus on usage and idiom during the Renaissance period, and I hope and expect by the end of this session you would understand the nature of idiom that was used during this period. Well, my dear students, language is not merely a matter of words and inflections. It is not only a case of a fund of vocabulary and certain grammatical structures. It is also not a case of only rules and regulations about language. Language is much more than that. Language is like human beings. Language is like living beings. It grows, it develops, it changes, it takes shapes and forms according to the times, according to the needs. It has an attitude that changes. It has, a kind of demeanor that keeps on changing according to the needs and times. And language is, always in a state of, a shift and change. We also thus need to consider the usage, because language is not only about the set of rules. People are involved in the use of language. We need to understand what is their idiom, what is their usage that they have of that language. No matter whatsoever is the rule, if people are using it in another way, that other way becomes language. Here I have some examples. Shakespeare says, "Creeping like snail with as big heart as thou, in number of our friends within this mile and half." Now, if you notice this text that is given in red color, you would notice it is different from the modern text in certain ways. Where the modern idiom requires the use of an article, in all these cases, we do not find that. Creeping like a snail, or with as big a heart as thou, in number of our friends within this mile and a half. This is how modern English is different. Shakespeare has omitted, he has avoided, he has taken the freedom of not using articles. Compare this example now with the previous one. These examples are again, from Shakespeare. Shakespeare here says, at the length, at the last. Whereas as modern readers, we would say it should be at length, it should be at last. We do not use definite article, or as for that matter, any article in these kind of phrases. Again, usage permits to apply, such kind of, choices. If people are using it in a certain area, then it becomes the currency there. The placement of negative before the verb is also one of such expressions where, we do not find examples in our modern times. Look at this example. This is interesting to read. "I no doubt it's not appears to me, she not denies it." Do we speak like that? We do not, of course. These, choices are peculiar to, the idiom of the times. Here, my dear students, on the slide, you would see some text from Shakespeare, and Shakespeare could say, "Thou hast spoken no word all this while, nor understood none neither." This use of double negatives is repeatedly used. Has spoken no word, nor understood none neither. Of course, we do not speak like that. This double use of negatives is not allowed now. And this continues interestingly in the skillful writing of Shakespeare throughout, these two small stanzas as well. "I know not, nor I greatly care not, nor this is not my nose neither. First he denied you had in him no right." So, look at the skillful use of the double, negatives that he has used. "My father hath no child but I, nor none is like to have, nor never none shall mistress be of it, save I alone." You would have noticed nor, never, none. 3 at a time. Of course, modern English doesn't allow these. But this was, an idiom that was in currency at that time. Well, my dear students, with reference to, the usage, when we talk of prepositions, we would find examples again in Shakespeare. And because this is Renaissance time, because this is Shakespeare's time, so examples from Shakespeare would be more apt. Shakespeare says, and here the text is, I'll rent the fairest house in it after 3d a bay. We should say here at this place at. We should use at for this inn. Another example from his work is, our fears in Banquo stick deep. Here, instead of in, he should have used about. Not in, rather about. So, the use of prepositions again depended upon the choices. And here again on the slide, you can see how, the single preposition of, this preposition of, shows how many changes in common idioms have come about since 1600. This is an interesting text where every time, with this of, I have given the substitute that is, more appropriate in, modern times here. As I would read it, you can notice all of these. Once that I brought up of a puppy, he came off an errand to me. It's pity of him, your name I know not, nor by what wonder you do it of mine, and not be seen to wink of all the day, it was well done of you. So, every time of is used, repeatedly it is used, but actually the modern English would give a substitute that would be different every time. And of is not to be used, by the way, any of these times as it is used here. This continues here, and you can also, notice for yourselves, if you read it, you would find this repetitive use of, and every time, the modern English equivalent preposition is, very, very different. It is not this choice of at all. Well, my dear students, generally speaking, idiom and usage claim less attention. People do not pay attention to that. Linguists, students of language, scholars, historians, they pay more attention to the rules of language and all that, and idiom is neglected. However, I would say when it comes to the Elizabethan times, no picture of these times would be complete. We would not be able to have a complete idea of this age if we do not have a fair account of the role that this idiom or usage played.